Hi, welcome to Gender Nebulous 25 with me, Freda Wallace, and
Victoria Hodges.
I'm applying the right
Pointing the
direction.
wrong way again, but
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But I'm
So,
over here. Hi.
is that the right way? Is
No, that's the wrong way.
that the right way?
That's the right way. Yeah.
Right. Victoria Hodges. So, how are you, Victoria?
I'm good. I've had a busy week. It's been a bit of a stressful week for trans people and non-binary people with all the shite that's going on in the news.
Let me tell you.
We're going to cover some of those topics, aren't we? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of topics to go through today. There's been a lot of stuff going on.
So, yeah,
Some of it's
straight.
good, some of it's bad. So I don't know. You wanted to start off with this issue around prisons, etc. So let's start with that.
So, yeah, I I wasn't sure when to cover this because it's like a developing story.
Yeah.
So, trigger warning, this is about the
Yeah, I
case.
mean, I think, it's trigger warning and it's difficult to remain calm on this issue. So we will do our best.
Yeah, it's to do with the case of Isla Bryson.
Yeah.
I'm going to call that Isla Bryson because that's the only way.
I mean, that's the name the person
Yeah,
has.
yeah. And this has been portrayed in the press and in the news generally as a trans rapist. Now, the way I see this is purely as a political leverage. And this nobody's gonna ever gonna tell me that you can excuse rape or abuse of any kind. But what I've seen in the press and what I've seen in the news today and in over the weekend is the weaponization of this issue through the trans narrative. Now, what I mean by that is there are people saying on one hand that this person is pretending to be trans to get certain privileges, to try and be housed in a female prison, because obviously this person would be more harshly dealt with in a male prison. That is a possibility, but it's not for us to speculate. We can't make we are not qualified to make those kind of speculations. And I've seen lobby groups, the lobby group, the usual lobby groups like Keep Prisons Single Sex. I will say the first thing I disagree with there is the first bit of that is keep prisons. Why do you want to keep prisons? But this case doesn't help anyone. It doesn't make women safer, and it certainly doesn't make trans women safer, because what has happened in the space of 48 hours is the Scottish Nicola Sturgeon has come out and said that this person won't be housed in a female prison. So yeah, I would say on balance, I would agree with that. Considering the severity of these crimes. But the next thing that I see happen is the Westminster saying that no trans women at all will be in female prisons. Now, to me, that is it just sounds like to me that this is a total political message. It's not about helping anyone. It's not about protecting women. These changes don't protect women. You know what I mean? They exist only as a political maneuver. Now in the case, I don't know the details of the case. None of us do. The severity of the sexual assault, what was involved in that, we'll never know probably. But this particular case is a gift to people that hate us. And that's a fact, because they how many times did we hear the name Karen White?
Yeah.
In these conversations, and now Karen White must be rubbing her hands.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of things to say on this. I mean, if you first of all, I think the way to deal with this issue is to take gender identity out of the conversation for a minute. Let's just look at what happened. There was an individual has raped two other individuals, that person has been taken to court, they've been convicted, and they're now in prison awaiting sentencing in Scotland.
Yeah.
So, should that person be sent to jail for a very long time? Absolutely. Are they a terrible person? Absolutely. And they're going to be housed in prison for probably the rest of their life. So the next question is, if you now bring gender back into the discussion, the question is, where do you house someone who says that they are transgender? We don't know if they are or they aren't. I mean, that's not really the issue. But the issue is someone who's saying they're a trans woman. Do you house them in the women estate or do you house them in the male estate? So the way to do this, I believe, is via risk assessment, and that's how it's currently done for all prisoners going into prison. They go through this risk assessment process to establish what the risk to them is and what the risk to other prisoners and staff is. Now, we know that trans women in the male prison will suffer a lot of abuse, not only from other prisoners, but from prison guards. This is fact of life.
Yeah, these are...
So if you put that individual in the male estate, they're going to have a problem. But, the problem in there is that they would need protection probably from other prisoners, especially based on the crime they've committed. They're probably going to get a lot of abuse in there. Okay, that's fine. We could say, this is a rapist, they deserve it. Well, okay. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But if you put this person in a female prison, they do present a risk to other women in there because, they've already committed 2 rapes. So there's a risk. So if you put them in the female estate, can you isolate them enough in there so that they're not going to cause a problem? I don't know the answer to that. But I think what we should be looking at is risk assessment determines where you put somebody. I agree with that.
Yeah, but my main problem with the whole thing is that if the public think that women are going to be protected by this decision, they're very much delusional, willfully ignorant, or mistaken.
Yeah.
Because, between 2010 and 2020, there were 122 reported sexual assaults against women in prisons, and 5 of them were trans individuals.
So the vast majority of those incidents are being committed by other women against women in those prisons.
Now, there are people who believe that the only way a rape or a sexual assault can happen is via a penis. Now, that is definitely not the case. That is not how people are abused generally, unfortunately. And it's a common misconception to link the idea of anatomy with abuse, because we know that's not the case. We know that there are women out there that commit horrible crimes against children. We know there are women out there that commit horrible abuses against other women and actually men. They're very much not reported. But this is not me saying to try and excuse the crime of an individual. Yeah. This is just me trying to get a perspective on this person going to prison, because it will not help women. It doesn't.
Okay, so then the other part of the kind of the thing that's happened is that the English government, I'm going to say English government because I think it only applies to England and Wales.
Yeah.
They've now come out and updated the transgender prisoner policy framework to say that no trans women will be held in women's prisons moving forward. Now that is a blanket policy and totally seems to ignore this risk assessment. So for example, let's say a trans woman committed a crime of not paying their TV license. I think you can still go to jail for that. So that person goes to jail. They're not violent in any way. They've not committed any violent crimes. They've committed a financial crime or any other kind of crime, similar level, really low level crime, where you can end up in prison. So that person now is not going to go through this risk assessment. They're going to be automatically sent into the male estate, which is dangerous for that individual. There's no associated risk with trans women in general so that person who's committed a not paying the TV license fee crime could go to the female estate and not present any risk whatsoever. But this blanket ban now is kind of taking all that away for absolutely no other reason than, political ideology.
Well, this decision, this Westminster decision, is not based on anything other than a callback. It's saying, like, we know what you're doing, Nicola Sturgeon, and we don't like it. Now originally they wanted to oppose the Gender Recognition Act, right? We know that, and that could still happen. And the timing of this, to me, is very dubious.
Seems very odd.
Because we know
it's like the day later this comes out after that case has been to court. I mean,
not just that timing, it's the crime committed, as far as I'm aware, with Isla Bryson was in 2018. Now, why has it taken all this time?
There was two cases. I think one was 2016 and one was 2019. Why has it taken until now for this to even get to court? I don't know.
Right. So am I cynical in thinking that this decision to prosecute this person, considering how very few rapes are brought to trial and how very few cases are heard, and how many are very few, even less, are publicised, am I cynical in thinking maybe this is a bit of a weird, it just seemed the timing of this.
I think we would be speculating if we were to say that.
Of course, yeah, but it's worth speculating because we know that rape and violent sexual attack.
Yeah, a lot of cases do not get prosecuted. That is a huge issue.
Because we live in a system of systemic misogyny.
Well, they changed the evidence rules, didn't they, a few years back around this?
They made
it harder to bring cases to court.
If you just let me just
go on.
Because the thing for me with this case is it's too convenient. It's just it all slots into too many jigsaw pieces, and I can understand. I'm not here to say this person should get any quarter. I think they should face the full force of the law, but I just don't understand why why Westminster are calling this now, right? Because what you're going to say, you were saying about TV licenses and stuff like that, but the amount, you're more likely to be sentenced and sent down for financial fraud. Like, say if you were caught fiddling your taxes, unless you're Nadeem Zahawi, obviously. If you were caught fiddling your books, or you were caught embezzling, you would be more likely to sent to prison for that than you would be for any sort of sexual misdemeanor or serious sexual assault. So let's not pretend this is anything other than a political thing. It's a purely political motivation, and I don't care personally about the individual, because if that person has been found to have raped somebody, yeah, fair enough. This isn't me making excuses. But I would like to see all rapists, all people that report sexual assault, treated with the same vigor as this person. But you won't see that. And why don't you see that? And why are people such as Dominic Raab suddenly interested in the welfare of women in prison? Because we know on record, and we know just by looking at his voting record, that he didn't give a shit about women before this. And that's just a matter of fact. So don't, let's not pretend.
Suddenly it's part of the political football.
So that was that. I think that's the main thing I'm wanting to say about it. To me, it's too convenient. And also you have the problem of trans men in prisons,
which is never mentioned.
Never mentioned. And there are so many cases of women that have abused other women, and women that have abused people in care, and they're put in women's prisons. They're put in the same prison with other women who are vulnerable the people that would have been in care. So where is the safeguarding there, and why is no? I know it's really complicated. It's not something we on this little podcast.
No, it's a big issue. I know.
But my main trauma with it, like I went on LBC the other night, and I was like proper upset.
I know you were. I know. I mean, you said some things. I could tell you were upset by the way you were talking. Yeah, you made some really good points. There were some things that were kind of off. What's the word? Not kind of on point, I guess. You were I think you were attacking Ian Dale a little bit.
But this is why I've asked him.
The problem is that, it's a very emotive topic, and when we're discussing this, we need to kind of remain calm and look at the facts, look at the law, and make sure that you do take away the gender from the discussion and look at what needs to be done to someone who's committed these crimes, and obviously it's go to jail for a very long time, and then we shouldn't be applying blanket bans to trans women who pose no risk. That's where I'm kind of coming from with it.
But we've got to be
this new policy that they've brought in is based on unscientific and political. It's very political.
I think this is one of the heaviest subjects.
It is a heavy subject.
We've had to talk about, but it cannot be ignored. And the thing that always stands out to me when I read, people, there's certain, I won't mention anybody's name. We know those high profile anti-trans people, and the way they've run with this kind of says a lot about them and the way that they have portrayed this. Now, when you look at it, when you take a step back from that and you realize that no woman in prison has been helped by this situation, then on what side they stand. I'm not going to see. It's really. I really want to mention names.
This prison, don't. But this prison in Scotland, apparently, is the conditions in there are absolutely terrible, and it's actually going to be closing soon.
Let me tell you. Well, you know what?
There's another issue.
There's a whole other issue of conditions in prison, right? And prisons and the people that manage prisons must be, some of the, and I don't know. It must be. Could you imagine? I mean, I don't know what it's like to work in a prison, but I imagine it's one of the harshest.
Well, I was reading something earlier today about a trans woman in a male prison who'd been raped 2,000 times while they were inside.
Well,
no. So how the hell does that happen inside a prison? Where are the prison guards? What are they doing?
This was something I wanted to mention, and there have been cases quite recently of trans women in prisons, and there was one of Jenny Swift, and Tara Hudson, and there was another. I'm just trying to get the link
Vicky
up now,
Thompson,
and they would be abused in prisons now. Now, regardless of their crimes, they do not deserve to be abused in prison, right? This is not. We don't live in a medieval world.
No prisoner deserves to be abused in prison.
Exactly,
they should be protected from themselves, from others.
Serving whatever you've done.
Your time, you're not there to be abused.
I'd like to think, Vicky, if I ever committed a crime, like say I murdered you.
Oh, God, it's getting a bit deep now, isn't it?
Which is probably going to happen at some point.
All right, make sure I keep that on record.
I'm trying to lighten things up now because I'm trying to.
You're going to murder me and you're trying to lighten things up.
Okay. So imagine if I got you high on something and you ended up passing out and it was all my fault.
And you ended up in prison.
Yeah. I'd like to think I'd be safeguarded. Because I don't fancy...
I like to think we live in a civilized society where prisoners are treated, Now,
I love you very much, Vicky, and I wouldn't hurt you, but I don't fancy me chances in strange ways.
No, exactly.
So let's face facts.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, difficult topic.
Can we talk about something else?
I think we've kind of killed that one. Let's move on to something
I think I'll let you do a bit of talking for a minute. I'm a bit emotional, but after all that.
Yeah. All right. So first topic, normal topic. It's about the church again. You know, we've had these conversations before about what's going on with the Pope and what's going on with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And this time the story is about Archbishop will not give new prayer blessings for gay couples. So, you know, the Archbishop of Canterbury will not personally use proposed new prayers to bless same-sex couples. The Church of England this week said it wants to offer blessings to gay couples that would not allow priests to marry them. Justin Welby said he celebrates the change but has a responsibility for the whole communion. Now, what the hell does that mean?
I don't know.
It's discrimination, isn't it? I mean, you can't. There's no other word for it.
Well, you see, they're in a weird position, aren't they, the church? Because they know that being part of a religion like that has certain exclusionary policy.
Yeah, you know, same-sex marriage, though, you know, has been legal in England and Wales since 2013. The law was changed. The church didn't alter its teachings. Why?
Yeah.
You know, I believe that the government should, you know, enforce this law on the church and make them do what they're supposed to be doing. I think they have the powers to do that, the government, but they're not doing for, you know, either political or religious reasons.
Is this to do with like the coupling of the government and the church?
I think that's related to it, yeah.
Because I just don't think the government should have anything to do. I mean, I know it's kind of a...
Well, you know, the House of Lords is full of...
Yeah, it's full of mental... The Bishop of Bath and Wells.
So it just annoys me how the Church of England kind of assumes it has this authority over people.
So for us, what would that mean? Like, say if I wanted to marry a man, I
mean, you can marry a man, but you'd have to marry a man as a man because that's what it says on your birth certificate.
Yeah.
Currently, if you got a GRC, you could marry a man as a woman. Well, I mean, that's a kind of a different issue. That these people are saying that for gay couples, they're only going to offer them a prayer, and this guy won't even do that.
So if I wanted to marry you,
well, you'd have to ask me first.
Yeah, but I'm just playing with the idea of what is, you know, what if you had a GRC, you know, if you had the legal, so legally I would be male, wouldn't I?
Yeah, in that situation you would. Yeah.
And you've got a GRC.
I've got a GRC, yeah.
So you'd be legally female.
Yeah.
Right. So I could marry you.
So in theory, that would be legally a man marrying a legal woman. And this guy wouldn't have a leg to stand on, would he? He'd have to do
exactly. So it's fucking nonsense.
It is nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
So
it kind of ties in with the next story, which is about the Pope. Pope Francis insists homosexuality is a sin, but not a crime.
Well, when I look back upon my life, it's always with a sense of shame.
Cue a song. So I don't really understand this. I don't understand where the Pope's going with this one. Pope Francis has slammed laws which criminalize homosexuality. That's good. Saying God loves us as we are. Okay, good. But then it kind of goes on to say, you know, however, the Pope said that he saw such attitude as down to the cultural backgrounds of the bishops and said that there needs to be a process of change in order for these figures to recognize LGBT people as valid and deserving in respect. I just don't understand why these religious organizations can't just get over this.
I can explain it to you.
Some people are LGBTQ plus, and they want to get married, and they should be able to do it in any situation, just like everybody else.
Well,
the churches just need to stop interfering in people's lives.
Well, when I was an altar boy, let me tell you,
I'm having visions now.
The reason these priesty people and the religious people don't want to accept that is because they're already indulging in it. And it's like they don't want it to be public. It's like, oh, we've got this little secret cult.
But what gives them right over people like this? Why do they think they have this power over us, where they can control what we do?
Yeah,
it's like
but it's true, because a lot of the laws we have, a lot of they're sanctioned by a kind of morality that comes
morality
from
police called religion.
Yeah. But if people think that being in love with somebody or expressing some kind of sexual desire for somebody is a problem, it's not. That's never the problem. The problem is people's shame around it. So priests and clerics and people in authority, they always have some kind of shame.
Yeah, there's nothing like a church setting to get the shame going, is there?
Yeah, and people find that kind of sexually arousing. Don't doubt it. Nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with men in cassocks. You know what I mean?
Let's not go there. I'm moving on swiftly to the next one. This is again another weird one. I'm not sure what's going on here, but Florida's Governor Ronda DeSantis makes a chilling demand for personal details of trans students.
We're officially calling him Ronda.
I'm not calling Ron. I'm calling Ron Ronda because of his disdain for trans people. So I have a similar disdain for him.
What's his actual name?
Ronda.
It's Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis.
So we're going to call him Ron DeSantis.
Ronda. We're going to call him Ronda DeSantis.
Help me, Ronda. Help me, Ronda.
This is a weird one. So Florida's Republican Governor Ronda DeSantis has demanded state universities share the personal details of trans students. According to a survey issued last week, DeSantis, otherwise known as Ronda, has asked for the number and ages of students who sought gender dysphoria treatment, including sex reassignment, surgery, and hormone prescriptions. The memo requests that universities provide the number of encounters of sex reassignment treatment or where such treatment was sought, as well as data for students referred to other facilities. It isn't known why DeSantis is conducting the survey, but it allows him it follows him bringing in a Florida's horrific Don't Say Gay law, which prevents the teaching or instructing of sexual orientation or gender identity to youngsters in kindergarten and up to year 3.
Yeah, they have this paranoia, don't they, about teaching children.
What's he going to do with this data? They're not going to let him have it, I don't think. I hope not.
No,
what's he planning on doing with that? You don't request that data and then just don't do anything with it, do you? Well, it's like he's using it for something.
My suspicion is he'd be very disappointed with that data. But if I was in that situation, the protest against that would be to get everybody to register as trans, even if they're not, because you just want to make a mockery of that whole process. But you see, the thing is, like, with that whole Don't Say Gay, and it's like, I don't really believe that these people care either way. They've just found a way to scare the public, to scare people into voting a certain way.
They think that the population is on board with what they're trying to do, and it's a way to retain voters.
Yeah. It's all about leverage. It's all about political leverage. Like, if you can scare a population into thinking there's this threat to your children.
If you could show DeSantis that this policy would actually get him voted out of government,
exactly,
he would change his policy.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it's ever about. It's about getting votes, and if you can get more votes with fear than you can with progression.
So House Democrat leader Fentrice Driscoll said, "We can see cuts in funding for universities to treat students with this condition. And I think an all-out elimination of services is certainly on the table." So, it's not good, is it? She added that DeSantis is trying to remake the state's universities in his own image, as far as, can be, as far as what can be taught and how students can be treated. She goes on to say, "I've never seen anything like this. It's a really terrifying place that we're in Florida history."
Well, it's like this. Don't these people know the internet still exists? I mean, children or young people, college
just because it's not
students,
mentioned in
you
university
know,
or school,
they're gonna. If you don't provide correct information, they will
they'll
find
find it anyway. Yeah,
It's like this.
I mean, they'll be watching this podcast, won't they?
It's like the idea that, if you know, when people start complaining about people seeing porn on the online, they're not. It's still going to exist. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You.
Well, one of the things she also goes on to say is that what can happen is a brain drain where we have Floridian students not wanting to stay there.
Exactly.
And they go and they move to other states, and the public colleges and universities in Florida will suffer.
Exactly.
So,
So Sodom, let Florida sink into the sea.
Well, it is doing.
Yeah. A couple of hurricanes later.
Yeah, it's going to be underwater soon when the sea levels rise.
We've talked about this before, haven't we? Like, the idea that everybody's going to move slightly more north. Canada is going to be
it's going to be the new sunshine state,
and then Scotland for us is going to be the main. Yeah, because that's where progressive policy is.
Yeah,
it's like
very much so at the moment. Scotland is the place to go. I mean, this is there's another report come out around sports, which is the next topic. Trans women have no advantage in elite sport, new report finds. So a new report has found trans women do not have any advantages over any other women when competing in elite sport if existing rules are followed. Findings from a report, which was commissioned by the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport, clarified that biomedical factors do not pose an advantage, but suggest social factors like nutrition and training quality do. The new report is an in-depth review of all scientific literature published between 2011 and 2021 in English regarding trans women and their participation in elite level sports. So, I mean, that really ties into what we were discussing with Kirsty the other day on that podcast we did with her. I will link this report into the notes if anybody wants to read it. It's 86 pages long. I've not read it myself, but it just goes to show, doesn't it?
But just to condense those 88 pages, it's like what we knew anyway.
Yeah.
It's like if you discriminate based on the idea of, like, obviously, like within the elite sports, bodies are not they're trained for a specific thing,
No, but I mean, that point about nutrition and training being more important. I mean, obviously, yeah. The report concluded that trans women that have begun testosterone suppression have no clear biological advantage. There is not one discrete biomarker that allows easy comparison of athletes' bodies to each other in terms of performance. So it's going to be an interesting read, that one.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, I'd like to see more trans people competing and feeling accepted by sporting bodies. Not because, like, I mean, it helps us, we always celebrate well-achieving trans people. I say the more diverse sport is, the better, Because I want to see a trans woman footballer in the Lionesses team. That would be beautiful. So,
or in the Premier League.
Let's make that happen. Yeah.
Another Scottish related story here. This was in Vice World News. Trans people say they're leaving England because of non-stop transphobia. Now, I think this particular article features 3 trans women. I think a couple of them we both know, regarding what's going on in England with transphobia and government trying to do all kinds of horrible things. People are actively planning on leaving England because of this.
Well, we've thought about it, haven't we?
I've thought about it. I've got friends who already have.
You were talking about moving to Canada last week.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility too.
What about me?
What about you?
Anyway, well, I was thinking about moving to Scotland. I mean, it's not far, but they seem to be more progressive.
So
So you can
let me just read out a bit of this article here. Trans people in England have told Vice World News that they are packing their bags and leaving the country because of the constant transphobia they face online, on the streets, and at work. It comes as the UK government triggered a Section 35 order for the first time ever, effectively blocking the Scottish government's gender recognition law, which could have made Scotland the first part of England to allow people to legally change their gender by self-declaration and without the need for medical diagnosis. So the three women that are featured in this are Amelia Beckers. I don't know if you know any of these people.
I do, yeah. I follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, I think they're all on Twitter, actually. Kate Anderson, I know I follow Kate. They've all kind of made similar statements. And the other one, I believe, is, 1 second. Michelle Snow. I met Michelle at the Trans in the City event a couple of years back.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've all pretty much said the same thing, you know.
So have they moved?
No, they're thinking about it, or they're planning to do so.
Well, you can imagine if you have the mobility,
you know,
if you have the ability to go somewhere where
Michelle, one of the things Michelle's saying is, I feel thoroughly unwelcome as a trans person in England. You know, it's very, very hostile here. I feel like I'm being pushed away by the UK government, and I don't think they know how awful that feels to trans people. Every few weeks, I get this feeling like I'm not welcome here, and I'm just being used in some sort of political game. I mean, I have the same feelings.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do.
It's getting worse, not better.
It just becomes like every time there's a news story about us, the British press are very hostile. But this isn't just about trans people. They're hostile about immigrants. They're hostile about, you know, any kind of marginalized community. They want to weaponize things as a fear narrative. So,
well, you know, if you could move to Scotland and that is an improvement to your life, and what's, you know, what compared to living in England, why would you not do it?
Yeah, exactly. You know? I mean, but there are advantages. Like, say, personally, I would say
there's already advantages. Nothing to do with trans stuff. I mean, you know, there's already advantages to be in Scotland, such as prescriptions are free.
And education
is free. You know, there's lots of reasons to move to Scotland.
Well, I mean, realistically, though, I mean, like, say if I want, I mean, it's like with this gender recognition reform. If you move to Scotland, how long would you have to be there to benefit? Because you just couldn't move there and go, right, I'm in Scotland now.
I think you'd need to be what's known as ordinarily resident, and I think that's a 6-month period you'd have to live there to say that.
So
this is my permanent residence now.
That's not bad, is it?
Bad,
you know, get myself a nice little flat in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Holyrood.
Holyrood.
Yeah. That'd be my drag name. Holyrood.
I mean, it's, you know, the more and more of this stuff that goes on with the UK government, the more and more I'm thinking Scotland is a place to go and independence is the thing to do. It's just, you know, those two things make more and more sense every day.
Well, that's what's that you see. That's the real crux of it. That's what's frightening Westminster.
It's really simple for Westminster to resolve this problem if they wanted to. You know, there's only, how many trans women are there in the country? 48,000. They don't need to make a lot of changes to turn the situation around. You know, it's just that they won't do it because it's politically not in their kind of ideas. I mean, they could solve all these problems really easily if they wanted to.
It's not even a problem. It's
you know, the problems that they kind of tell us are problems, which we know aren't problems. You could resolve it all so easily.
This is the way that they portray it, though. Like the trans issue, it's like a trans problem. We're not a problem, you know. I mean, in terms of when you look at it on a sort of swings and roundabouts kind of thing, we're a benefit. You know, we like, you know, we can.
Well, I mean, if you look at it just from a kind of an everyday normal way of looking at things, I'm employed, you're employed, we both pay tax.
Yeah.
Does the English government not want that tax revenue?
Well, I don't know
Are
if
they
we should
happy?
be.
No,
I don't know
but
if we should
it's
be judging
like,
people based on how
no,
much
but
tax they.
if 262,000 people decided to leave England because of all these stupid policies, does the government not want the wealth that goes with those people? Are they happy to just let them go like that?
But you've hit on something there, you see, because a lot of trans people are disenfranchised, and they're not.
I know.
They're not.
A lot
They're
of
not
people are not able to do that anyway.
So that's why this kind of change doesn't occur, because if people are not supported and they're made homeless and their employers don't support them, if there's no encouragement to do well as a trans person, if there's no kind of structure there where you see that there's a future for you, then obviously you slip through the cracks and you're not on the statistics, you're not even in the medical
No, but
statistics.
you're not even allowed to be a positive contributor to the economy, are you?
Yeah.
If you're not allowed to work and you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, and you can't do this, you can't do that. How are you supposed to be a citizen that contributes? How do you do that?
Yeah, but even that, I'm like, well, so what? You are an individual, whether you contribute to that system or not. Your power as an individual doesn't come from how much tax you pay. Do you know what I mean?
No, but if trans people can't get work because of transphobia.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
What happens to somebody like me or you? We can then no longer afford to pay our rent. We can't pay our mortgages. We can't afford to buy products.
Yeah, but those are traps.
You slip into kind of.
Yeah, but my whole, I don't know. Maybe it's the anarchist in me. I don't know.
But if you're not supporting yourself, then you need state support, don't you?
I just want to destroy the state. That's what.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, surely it's better to allow people to prosper.
You know me, Vicky. I want to destroy passerby. From the famous.
Right, well, here's an interesting story then. What about, do you eat M&Ms?
I do.
Right. Well, M&Ms have replaced their spokecandies with Maya Rudolph after a right-wing backlash to unsexy makeover.
Is this a good story about Maya Rudolph or not? Because I really like Maya Rudolph.
Well, I'm not really sure who Maya Rudolph is. Are they a comedian or something?
Have you ever seen a film called Bridesmaids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay. She's really good.
I'd have to look her up. But
she is oh God, who is she? I think she's like a famous daughter of. Oh God, I'd have to Google it, but she's like proper like Hollywood royalty.
Right. So M&M's has hired Maya to replace its lineup of mascots after a makeover left right-wing critics feeling thoroughly not horny. So the confectionery company said in a statement that it would take an indefinite pause from promoting its spokecandies, which were redesigned in 2022 to be more inclusive. So they had like all different like rainbow-colored candies, didn't they? I think. Yeah. You remember the adverts around that time? They're kind of.
I know what it is. I know what it is about Maya Rudolph that I like. She's Jewish. Well, I think her mother's Jewish, or I can't remember the mix, right? Her mother's Jewish or her father's black. And to me, that is like the ultimate mix. Because I love any Jewish woman that is a comedian is all right by me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, this thing with Tucker Carlson, I mean, what the hell is this about?
Let me just continue reading the story here. So the makeover, the redesign that in 2022, this included giving the green M&M, previously depicted as a lesbian, trainers instead of high heels, leaving Tucker Carlson furious. He raged about the new designs being less sexy and deeply unappealing. So I don't know, what does that say about Tucker Carlson? Is he actually wanting to have relationships with M&Ms?
I mean, does he want to masturbate over chocolate, or does he want to eat?
Apparently.
I don't know. I mean,
instead of the famous M&M's characters, the brand will now be represented by comedian Maya Rudolph.
Let's be realistic. This is about the idea that, the idea of sexualization. So, whenever traditionally, the only way a cartoon is female. is by the length of the eyelashes. Right? That's the way Disney works.
Yeah.
The only reason you know a character's
eyelids?
female is because they do some kind of stupid thing with long eyelashes, whatever. So Tucker Carlson is probably thinking, oh, we don't want any gender nonconformity within chocolate, because that appeals
no more rainbow M&Ms.
That appeals to children, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, also the rainbow is a part of it.
So basically,
I mean,
what's happened here is Tucker Carlson has cancelled M&M candies.
Yeah, so what? I mean, why do M&Ms care? I mean, is this a story about M&Ms giving in to him? Or because how much power does he have?
I mean, it's a funny story because like Twitter, absolutely. I think Twitter almost broke over the story. One user said, "If you're actually upset about the shoes a cartoon piece of candy wears, seek help immediately."
Well, yeah, just let me go back to Maya Rudolph, because I've just absolutely loved Maya Rudolph, and she is the daughter of Minnie Riperton, amazing songwriter and singer. So let's just celebrate that. So if she wants to advertise M&Ms, that's fine by me. So I mean, is this going to stop anybody or encourage anybody to eat M&Ms? I don't know.
No idea.
Funny
story though.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton in the news again is giving free books to children in Scotland in case you need a reason to smile today. Do you need a reason to smile, Freda? It's been one of those weeks.
As long as the books are not by J.K. Rowling, I'll be happy.
No, I can't imagine they would be. Children across Scotland have received more than 25,000 free books thanks to country music legend and all-round angel Dolly Parton. The country music superstar and humanitarian icon has added another notch to her ever-growing list of generosity acts with her Imagination Library scheme, teamed up with the Wheatley Foundation. I'm not sure who the Wheatley Foundation are, but in a move to help children develop their reading skills. So that's a really
I'm just Googling
cool thing to do, isn't it? Dolly.
Wheatley Foundation. I hope they're not a Christian group.
The foundation, which is part of the Scottish housing organisation, the Wheatley Group, is dedicated to helping thousands of people every year within communities across central and southern Scotland, and was set up in 2016 with the aim of supporting vulnerable and disadvantaged people. So yeah, cool. Yeah,
they sound like a positive group. Anyway, so anything Dolly Parton does.
Dolly Parton.
No, I think Dolly has always been a sort of gay icon, hasn't she?
She is, absolutely, yeah.
She's a female drag queen. And that's I know my mum loves Dolly.
I love Dolly.
And she kind of spans the decades, and she's intergenerationally loved. So that's good.
I think you're going to really love this next story. This is more kind of up your alley, I think, based on some of the things that you.
I'm worried now.
So this one, Cabaret Group and Furries to drown out Posie Parker's latest anti-trans rally with song and dance.
Well, this comes from Beth, doesn't it? Beth. Do you know what? I don't know Beth's actual surname. I follow, Beth. Beth, who's the activist who was at the GRA hearing, with the red hair. I thought, oh my God, do you know what?
I'm not sure how this associates to Beth.
Because this is her. She was organising a protest.
Okay.
Right, against Kelly Keane.
Mm-hmm.
That stupid let women bleat thing she does.
Yeah.
So Beth, I think it's Beth Douglas. I think, yeah.
Okay.
She's organising a cabaret thing to counter this. I can't open the link. Can you see the link?
She organised it. Okay, so let me just read it out. An event by notorious anti-trans activist Kelly J. Key, known by alias Posie Parker, will be met with a counter-protest from Cabaret against the hate speech and Furries against fascism.
Yeah.
Saying that when you've had a few. Posie Parker, one of Britain's most vocal gender-critical activists, is bringing her Let Women Speak tour to Glasgow on the 5th of February. Don't go, people. Don't go. At a previous stop on the tour on 16th of January. A gender-critical activist was heard quoting from Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf. The Glasgow event will be met with a counter-protest organised by Cabaret against the hate speech and an ally and LGBT group that challenges hate speech in Scotland with live music and dance.
Yeah, because so it's great because what happened initially, they were going to do the Cabaret thing, and then they realised on the same weekend there's a furry convention.
Yeah, it's actually there is a quote here from Beth. It says, earlier I stated that Kelly J. Keane, Posie Parker is coming to Glasgow at the same time the city's hosting over 1,000 furries.
Yeah. So yeah, I do want to say,
what a great name, Furries Against Fascism. I love that.
I've written quite a lot about Kelly Keane, as you know, and it's got me into quite a bit of trouble. But I will say, anything that counters that, because, she stands, whatever she stands for, it isn't women. Let's just put it plainly. They're not standing for women. I wish they would just be honest. If they were honest, I'd have more respect for them. If they would say standing against trans, then perhaps I would say, oh yeah, whatever, get on with it. But because they're duplicitous in their message, like if somebody says to me they're standing against trans, I was like, I know people would know what they were about, but they don't do that. They're very sly, duplicitous. So they'll say standing for women, and they're not. That's exactly what they're not doing, because women don't agree with them on the whole. And that's been proven many times.
So what are you doing on the 5th of February?
Well, maybe we should go. Shall we go?
Do you have a furries costume?
I've got a tail and some cat ears.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we should go.
Let's go. Let's get. We're going.
Well, it's Blackpool Winter Pride on the 4th, so that would be a good thing to do on the 5th, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know too much in one weekend, but yeah, I would love to go. Shall we go?
It's going to be at George Square, 11 a.m., 5th of February. I mean, even if we're not going in furry costumes, just to see 1,000 furries protesting against Posie Parker would be awesome.
Can I just say, while we're talking about Scotland, I just want to say, I know this isn't live, but Katie Montgomery is up in Scotland tonight.
She's doing that Edinburgh thing, isn't she?
And I had a little. I said, no, she sent me a message. We had a little chat because we were talking about some other stuff, which I won't go into. Because there's been a lot of shit going on recently with Kelly J. Keane and her acolytes. But I just wanted to say, I think it's great what she's doing, because, she's a really good speaker, and we need people to represent us, and there's just not enough of it. So very good.
I'm not sure if it's being live broadcast.
I don't know. I would love to watch it, but I did say
is it today or tomorrow? I think it's tonight. Tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah.
People, you know what? There's some amazing people doing some amazing things, and we need to promote that.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the positive.
Give Katie a shout out for that.
I just wanted to give a little positive spin on that. Because we said when we were on BBC Radio, we said we do a bit of positive stuff, didn't we? So
we did. This next one's positive. You remember that film I recommended to you?
Oh yeah,
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah.
Have you managed to get through it yet?
I've watched it to 1 hour 30 minutes.
It's amazing.
And it's starting to give me a headache.
So it's basically, I mean, how would you even describe that film?
Right. This is how I would describe it.
It involves bagels. It involves a mother and daughter.
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, imagine The Matrix, right? But directed by, oh God, I forgot his name, who did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting into somebody's head through the idea of alternate realities. So I don't want to give the story away, but it's about a very specific relationship, and everything is it's a very surreal film.
It's very surreal. It's amazing.
It's very fast moving as well.
Do not blink while you're watching it.
No, it's like every frame has a different...
Yeah, it's like I think I need to watch it again, because obviously you're not going to catch everything the first time around watching that. So anyway, the story around the film is that the star of the show, well, one of the stars of the show, Stephanie, I think is it Hsu?
Stephanie Hsu.
Hsu, has been, I mean, the film's been nominated for an Oscar. I'm not sure it's what the category is, but
Golden Globe. It won a Golden Globe, didn't it?
I'm not sure about that. But nomination, she said it's not just for her.
It's for me.
So I think it's had one of a whopping 11 for the absurd dark comedy with her fictional parents, Michelle and Ki Hugh Kwan, I think it is. Also nominated for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor. So I think it's had 11 nominations.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
It's one of those films, though, that really stands out. Because obviously,
I mean, I'm not even gonna try and define what the movie's about. I would just recommend you to go watch it.
Whenever anybody recommends me a film, there are 3 questions I ask. I say, what's it about? Who's in it? And how does it end?
And I don't know how to answer any of those with this one.
And if nobody can answer those questions, I'll watch it. Because I mean, I don't mind if there's a famous person in it, but they can tell me what it's about, I'm not interested. And if they can tell me how it ends, I'm not interested. Because I like a film that you can watch from any point in it and still enjoy it.
Well, Stephanie plays, she plays like a supervillain alter ego. So yeah.
Well, I will say there's an exception to my rule about film, and that is the film called Orphan. I don't know if you've ever seen Orphan.
Not seen that one.
Right, because that is a film that you really don't want to know the ending of before you watch it. There are a couple of films like that, but when people say, "Oh, don't give me any spoilers," right? If you can spoil a film by knowing the ending, I generally don't want to watch it. But there are a couple of films, and Orphan is one of them, that you don't want to know the ending of.
Well, the ending of this one, I couldn't even define what it was.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you. I watched it, but I can't tell you what the ending is now.
That's a mark of a good film.
You just kind of leave it thinking.
One thing I hate. One thing I hate about films is plot and plot device.
Yeah, I mean there is a plot in this, but it's really
no, but it's not about the plot. It's about something bigger.
It's about it's a kind of a story about relationship between a mother and a daughter. Really, I mean that's what it's about, and the kind of what goes on in that.
Yeah.
Scenario. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good film.
And then our last story.
It's the last one.
Yeah, we've got to the end, Freda. I know it's been a bit of a mammoth marathon, not a mammoth.
Mammoth task.
A mammoth task or a marathon of stories. Jersey government defends trans-inclusive cervical screening campaign after anti-trans backlash. So the Jersey government has doubled down on its trans-inclusive smear test program after transphobes criticised the protective treatment campaign. Officials defended a Twitter post shared on Monday, the 23rd January, advocating for trans people to book a smear test after it was overwhelmed by transphobic rhetoric. So what they'd actually posted was, this is the government of Jersey. If you are a transgender man, a gender non-confirming person, or assigned female at birth with a cervix, you can book your free cervical screening today. Now, what is wrong with that?
You see, the thing is with this, and I work for the NHS, so I know how they publicize. Because if you've only got one shot at appealing to the public, you want to include as many people in that moment as you can.
I mean, cancer is a serious thing. You want to make sure you're screening people that need to be screened.
So the only people that would have a problem with this are reactionary, kind of bitter little people that are looking for a problem. Because we put out a lot of literature, about smear tests, and we put out literature about sexual health. And within that literature, we're very careful not to exclude anybody. Now,
Well,
it's
in
not
addition to that one they put out, they also put out 2 further posts directed at women as part of the campaign as well. So
exactly.
it's not
But
no one's being left out here.
what always springs to mind as well is that we have leaflets that are also written in Urdu, in Mandarin. And when we do that, we're not saying, oh, if you don't speak Urdu, you're not included, which is the kind of logic these people would apply.
They're using, yeah.
So all you're doing is including more people in the discussion. You're not including less people. It's like when you put Braille on toilet doors. You're not causing any problem for the visually abled. You're just helping a few people that can't see.
Exactly. So one of the other adverts that they'd put on Twitter, I'll just read it out. It go again from the government of Jersey. When was your last cervical screening test? Cervical screening identifies abnormalities and may lead to cervical cancer. If you're aged 25 to 64, you can opt in and book for free cervical screening test today with your GP. So, there's a picture of a woman with a kid in the advert, and the other one was a picture of a trans man.
Yeah.
So
it sounds normal.
It's just, what they're doing is being inclusive and making sure that everybody needs to have that screening has it. No one's being excluded. I don't know why they have to cause these problems. It's just ridiculous.
But you see, the problem is that in the media, there's an appetite, and I think I've noticed it since Brexit, and it's like this appetite of the public like to moan about things. When I say the public, I mean like the kind of people that comment on the Daily Mail website, like this idea, oh, it's too woke. It's wokery gone mad. No, it's not. You don't have to think about it if you don't want. Nobody's making you think.
It doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, if you don't apply,
have to talk about it.
So it's like I had this situation. I was talking to somebody recently. There was a situation where there was, as part of a sort of inclusivity scheme in Manchester city centre near the university, they made a rainbow kind of, where there would normally be a zebra crossing.
Mm-hmm.
So they put a rainbow thing, and it was just, it didn't replace the zebra crossing. It was just an extra crossing. And people were like, oh my God, what about guide dogs? It's gonna get blind people run over. I was like, no, at this point, a blind dog is more intelligent than you. That's where we're at. That's where we're at with this.
Yeah.
The guide dog is more intelligent than the person that is moaning that there's a bit of paint on the road. Right? And it's the same kind of logic in those people.
Mm.
So like, and you'll even see people complain about the inclusion of guide dogs in places.
It's like, you remember when we were kids? I mean, we're pretty much similar age group. I know you're a bit older than me.
Pardon?
But guide dogs, there used to be those like little, the guide dogs they had in the street where you can drop some coins in its head.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You remember those? You don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
It's like people have forgotten what guide dogs are for. I keep seeing things in the news around, companies saying, "Oh, you can't bring your guide dog in here." Like supermarkets and shops.
Yeah.
The law is that you can take a guide dog wherever you want because it's a guide dog for the blind. It's a service dog that can be used by blind people to access anywhere, and that's the law.
Exactly. But I still maintain that a guide dog is more intelligent than the average Daily Mail reader.
Exactly.
I'd rather be.
You should do a test.
I would rather be led around a supermarket.
Yeah, actually, who would you rather cross the road with? Who would you rather cross the road with? A dog or a Daily Mail reader?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a Daily Mail believer. To be fair, my mum, I have this argument with my mum all the time because my mum, God bless her, buys the Daily Mail. And I do this thing. I go through the Daily Mail with a red pen and I just write lie.
So you cross out everything that's a lie. There's nothing left, right?
No, but I just, because the thing is with my mum's response is, well, I like the TV guide.
Just buy her a copy of the TV guide. So just go and buy her the TV Times.
There are some people that they just enjoy being entertained by nonsense. And that is what it comes down to. But you see, politicians play on that, and it's insidious because there are lobby groups that will use publications like the Daily Mail to get their story. Because, like I was saying, I was talking about this with somebody on Twitter the other day because they were saying, the anti-trans lobby. I say, yeah, there's an anti-trans lobby, but it works in the same way as the anti-fox lobby. And when the the hunting ban was coming in, the Daily Mail run loads of stories about foxes eating your children and foxes being nasty and foxes being evil. And what happened subsequently was, Chris Packham,
yeah,
the Spring Watch guy.
Yeah.
He was in the paper because he was trying to say, look, foxes wouldn't harm anybody. They just, they might bite your chickens because that's what they're made to do. So the Daily Mail ran this story where they said, Chris Packham, look at him, he wants to breed foxes. Look at him kissing a fox, these evil little vermin. And the next thing that happens is Chris Packham has his house firebombed. And there's a Land Rover parked outside his house. And there was a serious kind of threat to his house because there was a fire. Have we done all the topics?
We have. We finished. So,
I've had me Gary Barlow's.
You've been on the Gary Barlow again.
Cheap
and cheerful.
Gary Barlow's tonic wine.
So that's the end of today's episode. Quite a busy one this time.
Yeah, we better. We started heavy, didn't we? Because I needed to talk about
get that off your chest, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a bit emotional because I did make the mistake.
Let that be the end of it.
I did make the mistake of going on the radio when I was really riled up about it.
Yes. So. I think, when you get those kind of invites, maybe if it's really short notice, don't do it. And if it's, if there's a bit of notice, write down what your kind of points that you want to make.
Yeah.
And stick to those, stick to the agenda. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to us, and
Indeed.
We've been entertaining.
Please subscribe, please like, please
informative, entertaining, and factual.
Well, yeah, kind of.
We do our best.
So, can we confirm next week for
Paul?
Chat with Paul?
Yeah, he said we're going to record. Paul Bloomer is a police officer who's worked in trans inclusion and LGBTQI plus inclusion. So that would be really good to talk to him because he really helped me with something that happened to me.
Yeah.
And so we really need to talk to him. And
yeah, look, that's going to be a good one. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I'll sign us off there. Tatty bye for now.